Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you looked at the title below, right down there, then you know that you are here to hear about Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 8 in Houston, Texas. Now, if you looked at my past videos, I already talked about the premise of Married at First Sight, so if you've never seen the show and you don't know what it's about and you just clicked on it because you thought I looked cute, go back and look at some of my past videos so you can hear the premise of the show if you're not familiar with it. So we're going to dive right in. This is the episode where all the couples have their housewarming party. They're back from their honeymoon. They've moved into this new place. And now it's the time to invite their friends and their family who they haven't seen since the wedding. And just kind of tell them how the marriage is going. Get some advice possibly from their spouse's friends or family. And really just continue to gel together and figure out what it means to be in the same living space. There's also the episode where the girls and the guys got together separately and had just a little powwow because it's the first time they've all gotten together, for some of them since the honeymoon, but for most of them since the bachelorette party, to really talk about marriage and what they've learned and how hard it is for everybody involved. So we're going to start with Bao and Johnny. Now, Johnny, pissed me off last week. And so in my notes before they even got to them, what I said was I'm preparing not to like Johnny even more. But then I had to think about it. So on one hand, I blame him for getting into this show when he was not ready. But I don't fault somebody for wanting to be married. That's not the issue here. The issue is wanting to be married, but understanding that there is another point. There's another step. You can't go from having all of these dates, not really relationships, having all these dates, not dating for 8 years straight, and they're going straight to a marriage. That's the ultimate commitment. And so to go through this period of 8 years when you don't have any kind of commitment, going from no commitment to the ultimate commitment is a huge leap. So I can't blame him for not being ready in that sense, because he doesn't know what it means to commit to a person. He doesn't know what it means to really stick it through, to, get over some of the little quirks that he finds, and he doesn't know what that means. But again, knowing you don't know what that means, you shouldn't sign up for the show. You should have found a matchmaker to help you find someone to date, so you can know what it means to be in a committed relationship, and then you can think about getting married at some point. This is just a huge leap for him, and I wasn't really feeling it. And another note I put is that Johnny better not make this girl lose her smile. And one thing I will say about Bao is very confident in who she is. She's unapologetic. She understands that she has some quirks, and she understands that she can be a little standoffish at times and a little rigid at times. She gets that. And I think she's willing to tweak some things, I think she went into this knowing that she would have to tweak some of her behaviors in order to adapt to another person. She knew that, and I think she was prepared for that. But I think overall, Bao is a really good person. I really like her as a person. And I feel like she is confident enough that she's not going to allow this man to change her into what he thinks he wants. And she made a comment about that when she was meeting with the other wives. She was like, I feel like Johnny has a checklist in his head of everything he wants a wife to be. And throughout the honeymoon, throughout, coming back to Texas, he's checking off these boxes. But then once something happens, that's a little chink in the armor that is, doesn't fit into something he thinks he wants, he immediately backs away. He gets distance. And, she's like, you can't really do that in a marriage. Like, we're here, we have to work on it. And one of the other wives, Brett, said something I really liked. She was like, checklists go out the window once you sign up for this show. Which is completely true. It's one thing to be dating someone and dating with the intention of finding someone who picks off all these boxes. That's something different compared to this show where they're pairing with someone but you don't have any control over who they're choosing for you. You can tell them what you want. You can tell them what you prefer. But at the end of the day, they're going to give you what they think that you need. And that person may not check off all your boxes. They'll probably check off the biggest boxes for you, but they may not look the way you want them to look. They may not sound the way you want them to look. And you have to be prepared to accept what you need or what you want in whatever package it comes in. And if you're not ready to do that, then you should not be on the show. So I don't necessarily know what's going to happen with them. They did, I think she met up with one of her male friends, and she was telling the male friend about Johnny, and she's like, I feel like he's dismissive. He doesn't take things I say seriously, but I'm here. I'm 100% in this thing. I'm willing to work on it. And one thing I do like about Johnny is that I love the way he and Bao communicate with each other. He is very clear about what he's feeling, even if it may hurt her feelings. He never says it in a way to be hurtful. He's just like, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm scared about this, and I don't know about this. And she's like, okay, I appreciate you talking to me. It's not something I want to hear, but I appreciate you coming to me. And I feel like she talks to him not like she's a scorned woman. She never tries to sway his decision one way or the other. She listens to him. And she sympathizes with him, but she's also making it clear, like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but let me explain to you where I'm coming from and why I feel this way. And I think if nothing else, their communication is what's going to save them. If they are on the verge of not making it whatever, communication is so crucial. And too many people do not know how to appropriately communicate with their spouse. So that's one thing they really have going for them. And one thing Bouse I thought was interesting, she said there's a disconnect between what he wants and what he demonstrates. That is deep. That is really, really deep. Because again, it's indicative of the fact that what you want may not necessarily be what you have, but that's because it may not be what you need. And it's hard to come to grips with that, because in your mind, you went through this whole vetting process to get on the show. You were meeting with these experts. You're putting your life basically in the hands of these three people that you don't even know to say, hey, find me my perfect mate, or find me the mate that is perfect for me, rather. And that's the other thing. A perfect mate is not the same thing as a mate that's perfect for you. And I think too many of the men and women who come onto the show, they envision that I'm getting the perfect person. No, you're not. You're getting the person that's perfect for you. The person that's perfect for you comes with a bunch of flaws because you have a bunch of flaws. So why would God gift you a perfect person when you yourself are not perfect? But again, a lot of people don't view it that way. And because they don't, they get sorely disappointed when they get something that they quote unquote did not ask for. And I'm not going to go down that road, but basically he didn't piss me off this episode. He was definitely very honest with him. I put that in my notes. On one hand, I'm glad that he's so open and honest with her. Again, I love the way they communicate with each other. But on the other hand, I feel bad that she has to go through that, because she's all in. And imagine being all in a relationship and this person just admitted to you that they're not all in because they're not sure if they're here. Well, he didn't say for the right reasons. He's like, I'm here for the right reasons, but I don't know if I was ready. And that has to be so crushing for her, because she entered into this with the intention that I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. I am in this for life. That's why I am getting married. That's why I'm not just dating somebody. She's there because she wants to be there. And I think in the back of his mind, he wants to have a wife. He wants to have a relationship, but you can't make yourself be ready before it's time, right? That's not his fault. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them. He says he doesn't feel a spark with her. And even when he was with the guys and Gil was asking him, let's start here. Are you attracted to your wife? And he was like, somewhat. It's like, okay, so now you're somewhat attracted to her. But at the wedding, you're talking about how beautiful she is and how you loved her body and you love this and you love that. Now you go from definitely being attracted to her to now you're only somewhat attracted to her. It's like, I'm going to need you to figure it out. I feel like he was being really wishy-washy and going back and forth, and I wasn't appreciative of that. I don't think Johnny's a bad guy, but I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I don't think he's ready to be married. Definitely not married at first sight, but in general, I don't think he's ready to be married. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, and I don't know. They were in a good place after the housewarming party. She was like, I'm introverted, you're extroverted, and I know that it was very overwhelming for me, but you came in and you got things together and you planned this and you did this and you did that. And I think you and I work very well together. So that's why I think the housewarming party was a success. And it just reminded me that you and I are a good fit. We just have to be patient with each other and continue to learn each other and respect the things that we're learning about each other. And he seems like happy with that as well. And so we'll see. Ending on a good note doesn't mean you're going to eventually end on a good note, but he didn't make me upset as much as I thought he would. And I know some people probably moved by him like bursting into tears, like, what if I F this all up? Like, I'm effed up because she's effed up, and like, and it's like, I had no sympathy for him. Nobody put a gun to your head and made you sign up for the show. You did this. And the process is not a week-long process. It's a very long, intensive process. So going through all of this, at some point it had to dawn on you that, oh, I am getting married. Oh, this is the ultimate commitment. Oh, I can't just walk away. You knew that when you first signed up for it. You knew that when you did these questionnaires. You knew that when you did these psych evaluations. You knew that during the background check. Like, all of this stuff takes place before we ever see one episode of the show. So you knew all of this, and you still went through the whole process. So I don't want to hear, maybe I wasn't ready. You had plenty of time to back out, plenty of opportunities, and you did not take it. So it's hard for me to sympathize, even though I understand him being, emotional and all that stuff. It's like, you kind of brought this on yourself. So I don't know. I don't dislike him, but it's like, I don't know. Mirla and Gil. I thought it was really cute that while she was outside, like having lunch or drinking coffee or something, that Gil pulled up in the fire truck and he's like, "Hey, beautiful," I kind of catcalling her. I thought that was really cute and sweet. The fact that they've been married 2 weeks and they still haven't kissed, I think is very strange. Like, very, very strange. I'm not saying she got to open her legs for the brother if she don't want to, but you can't give him a peck. Like, I understand, and I think he talked to, at the housewarming party, he talked to one of Mirla's closest friends, a guy, friends with her for the past 10 years. And he was like, I can honestly say in 10 years, I've never seen her have PDA with a guy. I've never seen her, like, kiss a guy. I'm sure she has, but I've just never seen her do it. So I know that she does move very slow. But it is something different between moving slow in a relationship with, like, a boyfriend and moving slow with your husband. Now, granted, this is an experiment. Everybody, I'm sure, has that 8-week clock, like, hanging over their head. And again, I'm not saying that you need to, bust it open for him, but, like, you can't give my man a kiss, like an actual kiss on the lips. And even a kiss on the cheek, I still haven't seen evidence of her kissing him on the cheek. I've only heard of him kissing her. And it's like, if this not reciprocated, she's not even doing that much to him, that's a bigger problem. I don't dislike her as a person. I actually really like Mirla as a person, I think. I think she's very confident in who she is. I loved them talking about their finances openly and honestly. I don't think I realized that was homework from Pastor Cal for them to show each other their bank accounts. But I love that they're having these conversations because they're talking about, okay, how much do we need to save so that we can buy a house in this area? What kind of house do you want? Where do you want to be? And I love that they're talking about that because it's obviously showing that they are heading towards the future. They are thinking long term, like, okay, 8 weeks is 8 weeks. I get that. Yeah, that's great. However, this house, though, where would you like to, have the house? How much do you want to save for this? How much do you have in your savings account? How much do you send home to your family in Colombia? I loved that they had these conversations. I thought they were really great conversations, very open and honest with each other. And I honestly have always liked the way Mirla and Gil talk to each other and relate to each other. I think they get along very well. I think he's very patient, but he's very non-judgmental of her and the things that she does. I think he was also impressed by her savings account. Like, oh, you do spend a lot of money shopping, and maybe you don't budget for shopping and budget for other things, but you have your priorities in order. Because she was like, I don't have any debt, and I save my money. I pay with my credit card. I pay this off, blah, blah, blah. So I think we needed to see that too, because I feel like the world has been judging her, but she's never once said that she is in debt or that she is spending more than she earns. Like, she's never said that before. She says, I like the finer things in life. I was very dirt poor growing up. I refuse to go back there. So she's setting things up so that she doesn't go back there again. And I think that it made me, I definitely admired her a little bit more in this episode than I have before. I just thought this was really funny because I remember hearing this on the past podcast about how one of the best parts about being married is being able to gossip with your spouse. Like, when you guys get home, like, oh, husband, let me tell you what I heard, and and I definitely do that with my husband. He doesn't do it with me as much, but we definitely gossip together occasionally. So I love that after the girls and the guys got together and they got back to the house, that Gil was so excited to spill the tea, like, oh, because I said, what did y'all talk about? Because we talked about something. Our conversation was on. And he's like, no, and tell me, I want the cookie cutter version. Like, I want you to get down and dirty. Like, what did the girls talk about? He's like, because the guys, right? Because Johnny said he's not attracted to Bow. And I was like, what? And I just loved how excited he was to talk to his wife. It was like, yo, I cannot wait to tell my wife what I just heard. I love that, because that feeling of having news and be like, I cannot wait to tell my man is so exciting. And it's a really cute feeling, especially for people who never married before. It's like, oh, I have a wife that I can go home and tell all this tea to. And not only can I tell it to her, she'll understand because she knows who these people are, It's a great film, and I just thought that was really funny that he was so excited. That just really made me chuckle and made me feel a little warm inside. Like, oh, Gil, look at you. You got somebody to gossip with. That's so cute. But I also love that his mom, and I think a lot of his family are still in Colombia. And so for the wedding, his mother wasn't able to come, but his aunt or someone in his family had a voice recording of his mom that they played on the mic, where she's basically talking to her son and giving her blessing and how much I love you, I'm proud of you. So they FaceTimed his mom in Colombia, and it was Mirla's first time meeting his mom. So I thought that was really cute to have that kind of moment. I thought that was really, really sweet. And they both admitted to, when they had their housewarming party, they're admitting to their friends that everything seems surprisingly smooth. We're getting along really well. Our conversations are great. And I love that when Mirla was talking about marriage and just talking about Gil, she looked a little smitten. Not necessarily like, oh my gosh, Google eyes in love, but I feel like Mirla is very realistic in her feelings. So she's realistically into her husband. Not to the point where she's going to kiss him, but she's realistically into him, into the kind of man that he is, the kind of character that he's shown up to this point. I feel like she really genuinely likes Gil as a person. Like, really likes him as a person, which is so incredibly key. And so I noticed that, and I was like, oh, okay, I think Mirla's actually in this. Because again, if you don't talk to somebody about buying a house, if you're not planning on moving to that house with them. So she's seeing a future with this guy. But I'm mad that she's still ain't kissing this man. Like, that's just, it's been 2 weeks, 14 days, laying up with this person every single night, and you ain't give him a kiss, not like a quick smooch in the morning. Like, you could do something. So I put that in my notes. I think they're both realistic about what they want, and they admitted they're attracted to each other. And I do like that the conversations that they've had with each other about kissing, about intimacy, about what I want, what I don't want, they have those conversations together on camera, but they have the same conversations in front of their friends. And that gives me the impression that they are pretty much the same all the way through. Like, they're very genuine. They're not putting on airs. They're not putting on a face for each other and then acting in front of their friends a different way. I felt like they were very transparent, and I really, really liked that. So I actually really like the two of them together. Her not kissing him is going to be the thing, though, because even her shopping, he still has an issue with how much she shops, but the fact that she saves her money and she's good with money and she's like doing her thug fizzle, I think that that's going to make him not focus on it as much. Again, because she's not even asking him for money for the stuff that she wants to do. So I think that, not that his mind will change about it, but I don't think he'll put so much of an emphasis on that as maybe he would have before. But her not kissing him is definitely going to be the biggest issue for them. Because without that, like, he's going to be like, you know, like she said publicly that she finds him very handsome. She told his mom that. So he knows that. He's like, it's good to hear. It is good to hear that she's attracted to me. But those are just words. If you're not showing that, like, what is he supposed to do at this point, you know? So I don't know with them. I'm starting to like them together, though. Which is, I was not expecting that. Michaela and Zach. Now, I'm so conflicted with Michaela and Zach. I'm really conflicted. Michaela and Zach both made me upset last week, and I said that on my last video. They're both to blame for their actions, right? Michaela should have never walked out. She should have never had the attitude that she had and immediately assumed that Zach was being nefarious in his actions. But then Zach never apologized for it and never acknowledged her being upset. So it's like, you got to pick and choose your battles, baby. Like, I had an issue with both of them. And even this week, he's talking to his friend, Jerron, who was also really fine. I was like, why are there two fine men at a table? That's just beautiful for me. So that was just a note for myself, because I was just excited to see that. But he basically told Jerron, and this is something that didn't come out last week, that his past relationships, they haven't worked because he's been with women who have been toxic, who have outbursts, who are really dramatic, and that's what Michaela did. So it brought up all these feelings of past relationships, and that doesn't work for me, and if this continues, I cannot do this. And I don't think she knows that. I'm almost positive Michaela doesn't know that, and doesn't know it, and doesn't know to what extent that is, because he seemed really triggered, like almost PTSD, like, yo, I just can't do that. I'm not doing that. That didn't work for me. No. And Zach, for the most part, has been very chill and laid back. But this is the first time we've seen him be very adamant about something. Like, no, that does not work for me. It's not comfortable for me. I do not like that. And I think you are very fair in having that feeling. Nothing's wrong with that. But you have to at least tell your wife that, because she doesn't know. Like, keep in mind, they didn't have a honeymoon because he had COVID. So they had 2 nights maybe 3. And then he had COVID, so they were apart for a week. And then they were together only for a couple of days before she blew up. So it's like, y'all have only been around each other physically for less than a week. So I'm sure you guys haven't had that conversation yet about your past relationships. So she doesn't know that. She has no way of knowing how triggered and impacted you are. That's not her fault. And I think he also got pissed off. Well, I know he also got pissed off because I guess after they talked to Pastor Cal, he's thinking everything is fine. She's still, I guess, in her feelings and not quite settles with everything. So she tells him, like, I don't want to have the housewarming party. Let's just cancel the housewarming party. We're not in a good place. I don't want people over the house. He got pissed about that because he's thinking everything is squashed and it's settled. So her doing that, he likened that to an outburst as well. Like, you're just impulsive and blah, 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 blah. And that kind of took him over the edge. So eventually she changes her mind and they have the housewarming. Now, one thing, I don't know if I like or dislike. I think I kind of like it because I feel like this is a Black thing to do. They met up with the husbands and the wives. And I thought that Michaela would be all about, like, girls, let me tell y'all what happened. Let me explain to you what happened. Let me tell you what this Negro did, blah, 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 blah. But she kept it to herself. And I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if it's because, again, I assume it's because she's Black, because that's something that Black people do sometimes, that we don't like to air all of our business. But also thought it's because she has sisters, and she probably told her sisters the tea and, like, told them what's going on. And maybe she was like, I don't really want to tell these women. They're cool, but I don't know them like that to put all my business out there. But she did say, like, I kept to myself because I'm still going through it. I'm still dealing with it, and I didn't want to discuss it. So I was kind of shocked about that. Like, but yeah, he basically said to his friend that his exes were confrontational and he doesn't react well to yelling and screaming. I know I don't either. I don't react well to anybody raising their voice at me or anybody cursing at me. That doesn't sit well with me. But the thing is, you have to tell somebody that. The first time my husband did that, he didn't know that that was a trigger for me. I've never had anybody do that before, but the first time he raised his voice to me, I was like, one thing you are not going to do is raise your voice. You're not doing that. And in 18 years now, he's never done it again because he knows for me that's a trigger. I don't like that. I don't respond well to that. And that was it. And we let it go. So, yeah. So and so they have the housewarming party, right? He goes to... He pulls her friends aside to tell them the situation. And I like that he did that because he's basically like, I want to find out from you guys what I need to be doing. What do I need to be aware of? What I'm seeing now, is this a pattern? Is she always like this? Because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't deal well with that. And I don't know if I could stay in this knowing she's like this. So I do like that Zach is extremely honest. And it's like, okay, this makes perfect sense. I have no problem, with him being honest. And I think they gave him good advice. They were basically like, you know what? She isn't like this. This is a new situation for both of you. I think she's under a lot of stress for this particular situation. And she's already talked to us and she told us that this isn't like her. She feels really bad about what she did. She did a lot of self-reflecting. I feel like she's also explained that to Zach's friend. That, I did a lot of self-reflecting and I realized that I completely overreacted to the situation. I should not have done this or should not have done that. So she told her friends that she overreacted. She told Zach's friend that this was my bad, I shouldn't have done that. And then she goes to Zach and tells him the same thing. Basically says, I am sorry. I hate that I did that. That is not me. It was overreacting, blah, 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 blah. And then he says to her, well, how do you think your reaction made me feel? Now, granted, in my head, I'm still like, but you never apologized. You were still in the wrong, but whatever. And she was like, I feel like you were hurt. She was like, I feel like you are a very genuine person. And I feel like me acting that way was me taking advantage of your genuineness. And you're a really good man. And I should not have done that. And I promise I'm going to work harder at making sure I talk to you and communicate with you a little better. So she's saying, this is new for me. Our communication styles are different. We just have to figure out a way to do that. And I feel like, I can't speak for Zach, obviously. And also, again, I don't think he realized, and I don't think she realized how triggered he actually was about this whole situation. Because he could have been like, I appreciate you coming to me. I appreciate you apologizing. And you're right, we're still learning about each other, but we're going to get through this as long as we get through it together. Then they could have hugged and kissed and cleaned up at the housewarming party. It would have been a really cute, just sweet moment. Instead, he was still leaning against the refrigerator like, honestly, the communication is not what it is for me. He was like, when you canceled the housewarming party, that took me over the top. Because I guess, and I don't know if it's because he assumed everything was finished. I don't know if I don't know if it's because he assumed her canceling it again was a form of her like being dramatic or having an outburst or being mean or whatever it was. So I don't know why it was that one little thing that set him off. I didn't really understand that, and I don't think he was explaining it properly. But he was basically saying it goes beyond our communication issues. Like, you are impulsive and you doing something like that reminds me of these exes that did the same thing, and that doesn't work for me. And she looked visibly like confused and also like, but I've apologized, Zach. I'm genuinely sorry, and I don't know if you don't accept my apology. You know, I don't know what else I can do other than to tell you I'm sorry, and I'm working on it. Like, I'm trying to work on this with you. I'm in this marriage for the right reasons, blah blah blah. And she's basically pleading with him, and he's so standoffish and so just like shut down completely. And I just thought, I don't know. Again, I don't have the trauma that Zach apparently has when it comes to his exes, his former relationships. I don't have that trauma, so I can't really speak on it, I guess. But from the outside looking in, it looked really over dramatized, his reaction to her. And it's like, she is genuinely sorry. She is genuinely trying to work on this, and you immediately shutting down, mind you, 2 weeks into the marriage, it just seemed a little like, huh, really? Like, over that? I was just confused. I thought that was really weird. And then they ended it with him asking her, are you planning to stay here tonight? I would have been like, Negro, we live here. Like, did you forget? We live here. We're a married couple. This is our home. Where else would I go? I don't understand what you're asking me right now. But also in the situation, you know, she's not me. Because that would have been my reaction. But her thing was like, yeah, I'm staying here. Because, okay, well, honestly, I'm not comfortable staying here. Like, I'm just not comfortable being here. I have a lot of anxiety. And she's like, okay, well, you know, do what you need to do. And I like that she didn't blow up. I'm sure she was pissed off and very confused. But I like that she kept her calm. She was like, okay, all right, do whatever you feel you need to do. I don't see them making it. And it's sad. I want them to make it so bad. I don't see them making it because I think that they're both too much in their emotions. And I mean that, well, what I mean is her with the outburst, her friends are saying this is normal for her, but then when she was getting married, her sisters were talking about Hurricane K, and I guess how when she's upset, she like hits everything in her path, and she kind of goes on a rampage, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't seem to me like someone who doesn't normally have outbursts, right? So, like, I feel like she has that to contend with, and also I think she has some daddy issues. She may be looking for something, once her dad died, she may be looking for something from Zach to fill that role almost, which isn't fair to Zach at all. So I was like, I don't know how that's going to work. And then with him holding on to this thing and basically holding on to the baggage from former relationships, normally you see women doing that. So not even the fact that it's a man doing that, that's regardless. But the fact that you're holding on to this baggage from your former relationships and you're punishing Michaela in a sense for acting even slightly like those exes, again, she did not know that. She didn't know what would trigger you. She didn't know your history with this kind of behavior. And now that she understands it and looking at it from the outside in, like, oh, wait a minute, I was really tripping. I don't know how many of his exes ever did that, ever took a step back to say, oh, I'm in the wrong, Zach, I'm sorry. I don't know if he's ever gotten that before, and maybe that's why he didn't react to her the way she expected him to. But I don't know. I feel like he should have been a little more open in receiving her apology and receiving what she was trying to give him and working with her and saying, you're right, what you did was off, however, I should have handled it better myself as well. Because at any time, I feel like he also could have stepped in and de-escalated the situation, and I think he didn't because he was also in his feelings just as much as she was in her feelings. So I think they both emotionally need to take a step back, clean slate, let's take a breath. I have to remember, Michaela, you are not my ex-girlfriends. You are my wife. You are a different person. I'm going to handle the situation differently because you're not a girlfriend, you're my wife. So I need to work with you to make this relationship work because I'm trying to be with you for the long haul. That's how he needs to approach the situation. She needs to approach it, okay, he's a little bit damaged from some stuff that's happened in his past, but so am I. Let me work with him and he can work with me. So that way we can kill these demons together so we can move on and be that couple that we need to be for each other. That's what needs to happen on both their ends. I don't know if it will happen, but they both need to kind of take a step back and remember why they were matched and why they signed up for this in the first place. So we'll see if that happens, but it wasn't looking too good last night, kids. It wasn't looking too good at all. Brett and Ryan, they were boring. Like, I literally have very few notes of them. It's like, okay, they had a housewarming party. They both met up with a friend before the housewarming party and just like, oh my gosh, marriage is great. I like it. One thing I did like that I thought was funny, Brett's friend asked her, are you attracted to him? She was like, oh my gosh. She was like, when we were on our honeymoon, it was like watching Baywatch. Because he's just so active. He's doing the kayaking, and he's doing the surf thing, and he's doing this. He's in the pool, and, you know, they had the, like, romantic, cheesy music that happens when the man takes his shirt off, like, oh, and she just, like, loved his body, and she was just like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm definitely attracted to him. And he's attracted to her. They like each other. They are happy with where they are because every day, I guess, they see themselves going to that next step. They have a crush on each other. They like each other past, like, friendships. It's not, like, friendly-like, but the friendship is there. But every day they feel like they're getting closer to more intimacy and closer to the love word and closer to all that stuff. And it's like, okay, great. They don't have any serious issues. One thing she did say that I thought was interesting. When they had the housewarming party and they had their friends there, she said, you know, it's not only important that he likes my friends, it's important that my friends are his friends. Why? I don't really understand that at all. I think that when you are married, it's so important for you all to have your own friends and to have your own thing. Marriage, you guys are together all the time. You under the same roof, presumably, sleeping next to the person every single night, making all the tough decisions together, making some of the easy decisions together. This person is still your mate. You're still with them all the time. So it helps to have your outlets, to have your friend groups, to have your sports, to have your something that is away from your spouse. When you guys get together, you're happy together because you've missed each other. So I don't really understand the whole thing of my friends need to be his friends. I've never had that mentality. I don't know anybody that's had that mentality. My husband likes my friends. Like my closest girlfriends, my three closest girlfriends, he knows who they are. He doesn't, I've given him their phone numbers only because if something happens to me, he can get into my phone. You need to let my sisters know what happened. Let them, you know, keep them updated. If I'm in an accident or something, that's why you have their numbers. And if something happens to me and they need to tell other people what's going on, that's why he has their number. And I made sure they all have his number, again, for emergency. Or if y'all want to throw a surprise for your girl, you can do that too. But I know he doesn't talk to them like that on the phone. Not even like that. He's never once called them on the phone. Never once done whatever. When he sees them, he's like, oh, hey, what's up? And have casual conversation with them. So he knows my friends and he likes my friends. I know some of his friends. And his friends are cool with me. And that's fine. But we don't need to have a relationship. That's not necessary. I thought that was a really weird comment to make. But other than that, there was nothing about them. It was like, oh, okay, that's nice. But Rachel and Jose, y'all, okay, whew. I've said this before about Jose. He is not a bad guy. I think he has controlling-ish tendencies. I don't think it's completely controlling. And even Rachel mentioned it because they went to like what is it called, a plant store? I know there's a specific word for it. I can't think right now. Like a greenhouse. We'll call it a greenhouse. It's not a greenhouse. We'll call it a greenhouse. Nursery. I just want to think of the word. There we go. They went to a nursery to shop for some plants for their new apartment because they were having their housewarming like everybody else. And she was like, you know, Jose is not controlling, but I knew that when he came to the nursery, he already had an idea of exactly what he wanted. And he even said in his little interview, like, yeah, you know, I already have a list of what I want. So I'm hoping what I want lines up with what she wants. And if not, we'll just meet in the middle. He said it very casual, like he's actually going to meet in the middle. You're not meeting in the middle or nothing. Like, you're really not. But and so she kind of let him run with it. She's like, you know what? Jose cooks more than I do. So I'm not opposed to him picking the vegetables that he wants to buy. Because I already know he has in his mind what he wants. So it's not controlling for me. I don't care that much. That's fine. He can do whatever. So that part was just like, Again, I put in my notes, he may not be controlling yet. But I think he has potential to be controlling. he has some controlling tendencies. So it's not yet a red flag, but it's for sure pink. It's flying. It's getting prepared. But we'll see. At the housewarming, what irked me to no end. Couple things, but we all know that Jose has a whiteboard that he has all of his finances on, right? Like literally, this is how much I pay for this is how much I pay for this is how much I need to save, this is how much is paid off. And it helps him keep track of his finances, and he's very proud of it. He's very passionate about it. That is all well and good, and I'm a girl who likes to list. I need to see things physically written out in front of me to understand it. So I'm all for that. Not for company consumption. That's for me. And maybe, for in his instance, showing it to my wife, like, hey, let me show you what my plan is to make sure we're good. That's fine. You don't bring out this whiteboard during the housewarming party in front of your parents and her friends and show them how you've broken down your finances. That is tacky. That is so incredibly tacky. You do not talk about money, at least the way I was brought up, you don't talk about money like that in front of other people. Definitely not your money. It ain't nobody's business how much money you spend on this. It's not anybody's business how much money you paid off in this, whatever. I know you're proud. I get that. You are very proud of yourself, and that's a very great thing to do for you and for your future family. Awesome. Great. Not in front of company. That pissed me. I'm like, that is awful. That really pissed me off. And I would have been so embarrassed if I was Rachel. Like, honey, what are you doing? That's not for people. What? Why? What are you doing? That just upset me to no end. And then he's, they asked him, and of course they're going to ask all couples, so do you think you guys, have any issues? Is there anything you guys don't agree on? And blah, 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 blah. And he mentioned finances. And what upsets me is that he always gets on her when she talks about traveling. And I like that she stood her ground, because she was saying, like, well, we're traveling, honey. I'm taking you to Europe, whether you like it or not. She's like, you want to go, Mom? Talking to his stepmother. Well, we're going to go to Europe. She was like, I'm going to drag you back in if I have to, but we're going to Europe soon. And he was like, I just feel like, he said something. He said, she's a YOLO person, which means you only live once, right? He said, she's a YOLO person. She likes to travel, the single Rachel. And I hated that. It's like, so only a single person can have that mentality of you only live once and we should travel. Like, she wants to go to Switzerland. So she mentioned that to him. The first thing he said, this was a couple weeks ago, was, no, that's too expensive. We can go to Vegas. No, we're not doing that. And keep in mind, she's never once given me the impression that she's like, yo, let's cash in our 401ks, all of our savings, and let's go to Switzerland like tomorrow. Let's do that. We can do that. We only live once. We can do that. She's not that kind of you only live once person, not that kind of reckless. She's saying, I want to go to Switzerland next year. Let's pool our money together and figure out how much we need to put aside to save so that we can take this trip. She's being rational. She's like, I want to travel with you before we have children. I got married because I want to have a husband and I want to have a family. But there's some things I want to do before I have kids, which is very smart, very wise. And that shows someone who is planning to stick around for the future and who wants to just plan. She wants to have fun. And she's not saying, again, let's be reckless and leave next week. She's saying, let's save for a year and then go. Like, I don't understand his aversion to that. And I think because, again, in his mind, he's like, no, we need to do this. We need to do this, and then we need to do this, and then there's money left over. Then maybe we can do some fun stuff. But it's like, you should not be the only person controlling what happens with the money. And he's very adamant also that they pit their money together in a joint account. Like, I feel like, you're married, so it's no longer just me and you, it's us. And we're us, we need to have one account. Maybe if you guys have been together longer than 2 weeks, maybe she'd be like, oh, okay, we've been married for 2 weeks. You ain't getting nowhere near my money. That ain't none of your business. Now, once these 8 weeks are up, maybe we can discuss it. Maybe. But I understood what she was saying, too. She was like, we put our stuff together. He's going to take out whatever he wants to take out for groceries, for bills, for this, for this, for this. And then said, basically, whatever's left over, you can kind of play with that. So, like, I feel like he's giving me an allowance. I don't like how that feels. I'm not mad at her at all. I definitely get what she's saying. I think originally I didn't understand, but I definitely get what she's saying now. I feel it. And I hate that he kept referencing travel as something a single person would do, as if married people don't go places, And I was just like, I didn't like the way that was coming off, and she didn't like it either. And not that his stepmother, like, she went into the back room, I think her friend and his stepmother, and the stepmother was like, don't allow him to control your money. Like, he needs to lighten up. He needs to just relax. And she said in her talking head with the husband, she was like, she ain't at finances. Like, I understand it, but he needs to lighten up a little bit and loosen up. Because he's just holding the reins too tight. He's going to lose her, or he's going to, like, cause some more problems if he doesn't learn to just relax a little bit. And she basically said the same thing. She was like, I hate that he is dismissive of the things that I want, and I feel like he's trying to restrict me. And I like with Rachel and Jose, just like with Bao and Johnny, I like their communication. I think Rachel is very adamant about the things that she wants, but she's not saying anything with an attitude. You know, she's not trying to say like, no, well, you're not gonna do it. She's not gonna open up. She's just saying, well, you know, this is how I feel. This is what I want. And I do feel like Jose sometimes dismisses the things that she says, almost like she's frivolous and, oh, she's just kind of whatever. But Pastor Kyle told him last week, don't snuff out her joy. Allow her to bring some joy and some fun into your life, just like she'll allow you to bring some stability to her life. Like, you guys have to pull from each other. Don't try to, like, change her and take all this stuff out of her to turn her into the kind of wife that you want. Accept her for the way she is and allow some of what she has to rub off on you. That's not a bad thing. So I don't know for them, because we haven't seen Jose really backing down about anything just yet. So I don't know. I don't really see them going the long haul. I really don't. But that's my 2 cents. I think last night's episode was okay. It was just okay. I mean, the housewarmings typically can be a little entertaining, mainly because it's cool to see the friends and the family come who haven't, you know, for most of the friends and family, they didn't really get a chance to talk to the new spouse after the wedding because everything was so crazy. This is the first time really talking to the spouses one-on-one and getting to know them. So, I don't know. It was an okay episode, but I feel like it's not looking good for any of our couples except for Brett and Ryan. That's just because they're boring. But other than them, it's not looking that tight for the rest of them. So, we will see you guys next week. But thank you guys for joining me again for the recap and review of Married at First Sight Season 13, Episode 8. And I will see you guys next week.